All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming to our panel. Dungeons & Dragons is not the only tabletop game. I see some familiar faces as well as some new ones, so hopefully by the end of this hour, we will have convinced you of some new games to play. So what is this panel? The purpose of this panel is to be a guide to talk about and showcase some alternative tabletop RPGs for those looking to browse around, branch out, and, maybe take a break from Dungeons & Dragons, because there have been some things that have happened recently that have maybe had people look upon Dungeons & Dragons and Wizards of the Coast a bit less favorably than previous years. The world of tabletop games is incredibly expansive, and hopefully you can use some of the information you learned today to get a feel on what kind of game you and others that you hang around would be looking for. We plan to highlight certain RPGs in particular, but first we'll include a few that we'd like to touch on and give a quick look briefly. Never mind, no we won't, that's an old slide. Along with these highlighted RPGs, we'll give a brief synopsis, pros, and resources if available. For the uninitiated, if this is your first time at this panel, this is not the first time that we've done this panel. We've talked about it, I think, a couple of years now in the past. We're formatting it a little bit differently, where we, instead of focusing on multiple, we're each going to talk about one particular thing that we wanted to give an in-depth look on. But we do have sheets that we are going to hand around that are going to have, what?
About what we've talked about in the past?
Yes, about what we've talked about
If you've been to our panel before, could you raise your hand? Just want to see, some people. Okay, so some familiar faces. So this is just going to be some resources about some of the things that we have discussed in the past, some of the tabletop RPGs that we're a fan of. We will, we'll touch briefly on it today as well. And maybe we'll talk a little bit more about them in the future too, because every year we want to introduce you guys to new RPGs. So there are some sheets going out.
No, I did not print enough. There's no way there's only 50 people here. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about, Chapter 1, looking for group or not. Contrary to popular belief, you don't need a group to play and enjoy tabletop RPGs. Contrary to popular belief, you don't need a group to play and enjoy tabletop RPGs. In fact, there are some adventures that are made for just one person in mind. You, the player.
Okay, so solo TTRPGs, tabletop role-playing games. So solo tabletop role-playing. Oh, I'm not close enough. Can you hear me? Epic. Okay. Solo tabletop role-playing games are a great way to work your creative muscles, become a better game master, and expand your worlds. If you're too shy or just can't seem to find a group to play with, solo play is for you. As someone who enjoys solitude, alone time, and also storytelling, I enjoy building worlds and stories through solo play. So how solo play works? Solo play works as follows. Think of a game you like to play or run. Solo play is a great way to test out new materials as a game master, so this will be a great opportunity to grab a new game or a system to try. Have a game that isn't solo that you want to play. Have a story you'd like to explore but doesn't fit into any existing game systems. Stay tuned as we cover that soon. Deciding your method of playing. What I mean about deciding your method of playing is that there's many ways of playing solo. You can use a journaling method, which is writing your thoughts in internal monologue as the character, reacting to their environment. Some people do most of the gameplay in their heads and use a system such as solo TTRPG notation, which is basically like a notation system, like a shorthand basically for what happens in the game. So it could be, also this system can be found on itch.io, and you can use it to record roles and core details. I personally do mine in a chat style using the Plot Unfolding Machine app. But this can be easily, yeah. All right, sorry. Okay, but this can easily be done in Markdown notes in an app called Cydian for free. You can also record your process through dictation if you're bold enough.
For some people, you might be thinking, or you might not be able to conceptualize how exactly that would work if you're playing, solo. So we have a video here that might better help explain what the process might be like. I got a clip from. Please tell me this is gonna work. Begging you to work. No one can hear that, can they?
Video.
Is it through HDMI or?
Yeah, it's through HDMI.
Okay.
Son of a bitch. What?
Is there a speaker? Oh, yes.
Nothing for audio?
Do you need help with the mixer?
What's that?
Do you need help with the mixer?
We don't know how to work it.
I have no clue how to get this.
It really sucks because I have a video.
Sorry,
Oh.
Basically, I have a laptop.
On the screen, right? We don't know. We don't. There's stuff on the screen, right?
There is?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just I'm trying to get the actual.
That's all audio, so that's.
If you go in the sound settings, it might be like a place where you want the output to be. The sound settings on like your computer itself.
I don't have like an external speaker. It's only connected via HDMI.
No, but it might need to be like where. Yes, go for that. Sound system.
So, as we troubleshoot, have any of you guys played solo before? Epic, at least someone that isn't me. It's solo for a reason. So,
It says HDMI.
And also, I think something cool that we're going to cover is that you can make almost anything solo, like any existing game solo, even if it's already multiplayer. So that would be fun to get into. Even though people will probably think you're an even bigger nerd than you already are if you solo. So.
No? Okay. This is some stuff. That's where it goes.
Max that mixer out.
Wait. I started coming from the projector. Son of a bitch. Okay. Yeah, why not?
Oh, you just
No.
mic. Nope.
All right. Look at it again.
We don't know how to use this thing.
We're just having like technical difficulties with our mixer because we actually want you to hear the audio of the video because it's crucial, kind of.
Cool door video.
Will this work out? That's a good try. Please God. Please double that.
She does not. Does she see more lizard folk? 87, no.
Nothing?
One.
Oh my God.
Can you put closed
Yes.
captioning up, maybe?
What?
Closed captioning.
There's no closed captioning on it.
Auto generated.
This is so
Does it
scuffed.
still work? Hello?
Hello.
Oh man.
Okay, hello? That's better.
Okay, so maybe now try.
Now let me try. I swear to God.
We're a little scuffed today. Sorry.
One. She does not. Does she see
Now do you hear it?
more lizard folk?
I should have. It's in the room, but I have my PA. But
it's
I don't
okay.
think I have
We'll
enough time to go get it.
What is she
Well, I have no.
Just relay what she's saying. Out loud, I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
87, no.
If you're still here, we love you.
Down back, yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe try that. Yeah.
Oh my God.
On dice, give me something. Does she see more
Not bad. It's
woodwells?
not bad.
She does not see more woodwells. But that is a random event. Hopefully this gives me something to go off of. 60 for the random event. is move away from a thread. No! Which means moving away from a goal. One of the goals is going to be harder to achieve. Her current goals are get more money from Jimmy Bob, investigate the apples or the ungrowth, and also investigate why the lizard folk killed the human woman. Let's just roll a d4. 2. Oh great, it's gonna be harder to investigate. Awesome. I need a new challenge for Kenlin to face. Oh, her fly runs out. She begins to fall, and she casts Featherfall and she lands on the ground. Although she can just recast Fly with a spell slot, I don't think she wants to, and she's just gonna walk on foot. It'll allow her to like really see the trees up close and personal, and possibly see anything that might be a little odd.
Thank you for your patience with that. Okay.
All right. So choosing your way of decision making. The main question people have about solo roleplay is how does it work as you don't have a game master making plot, world, and NPC decisions for you? And to that I say, oracles. Oracles are a way of emulating a game master without using things like Gen AI or just winging it. The most well-known system for solo play that can be easily adapted to most games is Mythic Game Master Emulator, which they do not have in the Little Merchants Hall, so don't ask for it. I already tried. Okay. It functions as an oracle that helps you run your game. It works with a fate chart, random events and scenes that you roll on to help guide you through your game. For example, could I ask the oracle, is the creature hostile? And I could roll a 25 on level of chaos factor, which means it's very likely. So to explain that roll, you could say it's armed, angry, and actively threatening, or like any way you interpret it. It just has to align with the roll you did. Okay, so, or however your I already said that. Same idea applies for random events and scenes. Random tables are great use in solo play, so if you're a random table hoarder, now's your chance to use them. More information about Mythic that can answer more questions than me can be found in the actual book, Mythic Game Emulator 2nd edition, which is sold on TTRPGS. My current way and second way of playing is through Plot Unfolding Machines, which is a project maintained by Jensen Vars. Their app, PUM, or Plot Unfolding Machine Companion, is like an all-in-one system for playing solo, as it has its own oracles. You can add your maps, add your tables, create profiles for your characters, complete roles, and document gameplay. I personally use it as almost like a chat room for my world and characters, using it to make plot, scene, and overall game decisions. This is a paid app, and I would consider it well worth the buy. Agnostic systems also exist if you like to completely build everything from ground up. There are SRDs, which are system resource documents that cater to solo play, such as Push SRD. But what is a SRD? A system resource document is an open rule set used to create games such as the 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons or the Fate SRD. It's used as a basic system for gluing your game together. You can even release your own game using an SRD, as it serves as a framework for building games. There are a lot of open source systems that you can use to make the whole entire game around the game. There are open source systems you can use to make your whole entire game around for free. Push SRD is one of them. Push is a system that is good for single and multiplayer games. You can either use Push to make an entire game or find games to run based on that system or any system you like. To learn more about Push RD, you can also check them out on itch.io. Okay. Adapting your game for solo play. Adapting your favorite TTRPG for solo play has gotten a lot easier with systems such as Mythic and PUM. First, you need to figure out how to run your campaign, which core books and books made for game masters come in handy. After all, you're basically your own game master. After that, pick your oracle. Both Mythic and PUM can be used with most games, so it's a matter of if you will sync them together to make a functioning game. Here I was going to put an example of how to adapt games to solo play, but a lot of games these days include a section for it in its guidebooks. I will give you some tips. Number 1, use your imagination. It's time to bring back that childlike wonder, curiosity, and creativity when rolling. When asking, is this merchant trying to scam me? Don't just say yes. Don't just say yes, no, maybe, etc. This is a good time to use the yes, and no, but method, which I picked up through creative writing. Will I ever respond to my question after rolling a 90 is yes, and he's already pickpocketed you, so you can't buy anything anyways. Embrace the cringe of playing solo. People already think that we're huge nerds for the tabletop hobby anyway, so why not go ahead and talk to yourself? Play exactly how you want to play. Have you ever been turned down by a game master for wanting to have a rifle in Dungeons & Dragons as a bard to shoot bullets that play tunes while flying through the air? Probably not exactly, but I hope you get my point. You aren't at the graces of someone else's storytelling anymore, so yes, you can have a Honda Civic in the pits of hell if you want. Obsidian for solo play. Obsidian is my goat. I've been using it as a knowledge base in the second brain for years now. Obsidian is a cross-platform markdown notes application, which I'm actually reading my script on. Okay. I said that already. Obsidian is great for lots of things, but in this case, today we will be talking about its use for RPGs. Obsidian has many tools and plugins to make role-playing enjoyable, such as solo tools, dice rollers, embeds, tables, and more. You can even maneuver maps on there too. Obsidian is highly customizable and moddable with your own code snippets and developmental extensions. Some of my favorite extensions are admin, which I use to make a chat-like layout, so I have like separation between my characters and it's not just one whole paragraph, which I made my own snippet for admin. And then advanced tables, which is great for like tables. Better word count, which helps you actually track what you're typing. And typewriter if you want to have fancy sound effects. But there's also stuff like the Solo TTRPG Toolkit, I believe is what it's called on Obsidian. It's a great tool and it has like basically almost all the necessities you need, to the point where you would need the unfolding machine, the plot unfolding machine, because if you have a good noggin on you, you can do it yourself. So lastly, I want to recommend this video by a VTuber named Himetsuji called How to Play Solo RPGs in Obsidian, if you're interested. So I'm going to end off with some recommendations. So one that I actually have made all the preparations to play solo, but haven't actually did it, is Koriko, A Magical Year. Koriko lets you play as a budding teenage witch moving to a new city, and their experiences while being there for a year. This game is also uses a tarot deck as an oracle. And then Elgi is like someone like, it's kind of like it's kind of like Vampire the Masquerade, but you can already play Vampire the Masquerade solo, but this is like kind of like a inspired game by it, I guess. And then if you're more familiar with the 5E system, I will recommend Wolves of Langston and The Mystery of Witch Haven. They seem very cool. I've already bought the books, but I haven't played yet, but I've looked through it and it seems pretty cool. And then Fate, which we touched on last year, because you can do literally anything with Fate. I was actually talking to one of my friends who was a panelist here. I was like, oh, maybe I should do a Fate game in the Yellow Jackets universe, because I'm crazy about Yellow Jackets.
Oh my god, I love that. I love Fate, guys.
Yeah,
Play it's a great
Fate,
system.
Please.
Actually, last year I was talking about the Fate system a little bit. Like, I was talking about like Fate Accelerated specifically. So there's like Fate Core, and then there's Fate Accelerated.
Accelerated is good for solo.
Yeah, Accelerated is really good for solo. It uses like fudge dice. Do you guys know what fudge dice are, right? Like those dice. So it's really simple, actually. Fate, yeah.
Yeah, and my last words, in conclusion, play with yourself.
Yeah, hear that? Play with yourself.
Yes.
Okay, up next we are going to talk about Pathfinder. You guys know Pathfinder, right? Everyone knows Pathfinder. Like, we can't have a panel about, how things that aren't D&D without talking about Pathfinder. It's Pathfinder.
So Pathfinder are for the Pathfinder is for those who that do like D&D and they like the whole classic high fantasy feel, but maybe they're not a fan of D&D's mechanics. I know especially a lot of people have issues with 5e and the new 1D&D because it just feels a little bit too streamlined. There's not enough depth as there used to be in D&D, say in some of the earlier editions like 3.5, which a lot of people do like. Let's see. So, what is Pathfinder? Created by Paizo, Pathfinder is considered by many to be the main Dungeons & Dragons alternative. At a core level, this RPG has very similar high fantasy niche as the traditional D&D style would, featuring action and adventure, fantasies with a variety of different races and classes that one can play as, more so, in fact, than the actual D&D published material. I would say Pathfinder is a suitable alternative to D&D for those that are seeking a lot of the same Pathfinder is a suitable alternative to D&D for those that are seeking a lot of the same sword and sorcery flavor as traditional D&D, but with more mechanical depth and more, I guess, choice of how you can build your character. So what are the reasons that you might play it? First, Pathfinder step starts as early as character creation. D&D, it's rather simple. Your character creation, you make your character, you pick out their race, their class, that's pretty much it. Low-level D&D is probably the worst level D&D to play. How many times have you been into combat, and you go once, you go to attack something, you miss, and now you have to wait another 20 minutes for your turn? Not really that fun. For Pathfinder, you have the 3-action system, which allows you to be a lot more, I guess, involved in the actions of your character. So let's say, instead of attacking once and you miss, you get to attack again as a penalty, or maybe raise your shield, or cast a spell, or drink a potion. Any of those other things that may not be available with other systems like D&D. Agency, in addition to having more freedom of character creation, actually playing the character and actually playing the character itself feels more rewarding. The action economy is different and allows people to do more even at a low level. That's sort of what I just said. And it's completely free, which is something that I know a lot of people do care about. All rulebooks, gameplay information, mechanics, character building information is 100% free and available on the official Pathfinder website, Archives of Nethys, and the link is right there. If you're not familiar with Pathfinder, I recommend taking a look into that website. It's actually very well in depth. So for the next RPG, we'll be talking about something that's a bit more for people that want to try something, say, a bit more challenging, darker themes, darker gameplay, something a bit more hardcore, where your survival hinges on your choices.
Okay, so, we got to introduce some new things for you, to walk away out of here with some new tabletops in mind. I'm starting off with Morkborg. Has anyone played Morkborg? You've played Morkborg? Oh, okay. All right. Some Morkborg fans in here. So, what is Morkborg? Your new favorite tabletop RPG. That's hopefully. So, Morkborg is an OSR. Are you guys familiar with the term OSR? You guys know what OSR is? Yes, so that is going to be, for anyone who isn't familiar, an OSR stands for Old School Revival or Old School Renaissance. Sometimes the R stands for Rule, sometimes it stands for Revolution. The main difference about OSR in tone, in comparison to the more modern tabletop RPGs, is that OSRs are, they definitely encourage more of tonal fidelity. So this is in D&D when you guys are planning out your adventure, your DM is planning out, you ever watched Critical Role, or you watch the Adventure Zone, their characters aren't going to die. They're going to go through their character arcs, there's they're going to win eventually, right? Even though it's about that journey there. With OSRs, there's a less emphasis on those predefined endings and greater emphasis on player choice. So your choices matter. Instead of all the railroading that D&D might have, if you make a stupid mistake, you're gonna die. OSR games provide play where wrong decisions can easily become lethal for characters and do not guarantee satisfying endings to character arcs. You live and die by player choice as opposed to the story's needs. So that's like the main difference with OSRs. There are 4 pillars of OSRs. Ruling from Game Master are more important than the rule books. Concoct a clever plan and let the Game Master roll on it. Player skill is more important than character abilities. Outwin the enemy, don't simply outfight them. Emphasize on the heroic, not the super heroic. Success lies in experience, not superpowers. And game balance is not important. If the character meets a more powerful opponent, either think of a clever plan or run away. So that's, a little bit about OSRs.
I got the video next.
Okay. Next up, we're going to talk a little bit about lore and world building. We have a wonderful lore video about Morkborg for you.
And this one's actually going to work.
We hope. Oh.
The wind from the west, from the sundered land, rot rises, and the stench of blood. Cursed walker, will you travel there, to the valley of the unfortunate undead? Our young ones are taken by the child thief Turgal, known for his vile crimes and alchemy of the flesh. No one has seen the sun in years. The old care more for sacrifice and god offerings than their bawling spawn. Doomsayers are proved right time and time again and embraced by hidden powers. Maybe it's best to surrender, to trust your own instinct and skill rather than the whim of dice. Before all is drowned in welcome silence, life locked in failing in a dark void. What was written must be known. When the world was but water, dust and clouds, thick with plague-fat flies, came she, first of the basilisks. From the cracks of Bergen Crypt she crawled. She spawned many since the dawn of time, their conceptions not without agony. All were cast down the cliffs of Bergen Crypt, only he survived. Down in the valley of the unfortunate undead, his eyes locked upon the mountain's peak. He spits out curses upon his evil mother. The basilisks are 2 and 2-headed. The 4 heads have argued for hundreds of years. Verhu predicts inexorable annihilation. If you could learn the codes of the apocalypse, perhaps the right offerings might avert it. One day, all will blacken and burn, just as the 2-headed basilisks have predicted. The world is dying. To take one's own life is considered sinful cowardice. The road to salvation lies through mortification of the flesh. The apocalypse is to be met with eyes wide open. Only then can the soul be allowed passage to the shimmering fields. Time is short. How will you face these last days? Robbing graves for soil-stained wealth, or facing down the apocalypse, hoping it can be fought? Welcome to Murkborg, a doom metal album of a game. A spiked flail to the face, rules light, heavy, everything else.
I'm so glad we got the audio to work for that, because so good, so good. Any of you guys interested in Morkborg now? Yeah? Hell yeah. So, Morkborg is Swedish for Dark Fort. It is a Swedish originated game. A little bit about the lore still. It is, I'm just going to read a little bit of an excerpt. The world dies, even now, reality decays, truth becomes dream, and dream truth. Cracks grow in the once stable structures of the past, allowing things misshapen and vile to worm through, emerging into the day's wan light. The known world is a broken mass where distances shift and paths between places warp. No one has seen the sun in years. Life is one of scavenging and survival. So, Morkborg is a fantasy role-playing game. It's set in a world where there are upcoming 7 prophecies that will bring the world to an end. So unlike your classic high fantasy adventure where you're going off, you're just trying to survive in this apocalyptic world. So it is described as what characters do in their last days: speed them up, work to stop them, or just try to get rich and enjoy themselves before the lights go out. The end of days is so close that players do not have to bother to name their characters. To add to the general darkness of the game, the world is one of corruption, horror, and nihilism. One of the critics has said that the game involves valleys riddled with undead, gothic cathedrals, and accursed forests, cannibal warlocks, poison peddlers from the beyond the void, and hungry gutworms. So it is it's a complete game in the OSR genre. Probably one of the most popular ones in the OSR genre. Super popular right now. But it is made pretty easily compatible with several things. But you can also pick it apart and use it for homebrew. It does conclude several locations, like important events, important plots. There is a calendar to decide the speed of the world's demise, and there are also 12 unique creatures included to be murdered by. And there you also get 20 occult powers to help you bend reality. And just as many magical catastrophes for when you disastrously fail, which we will touch on. Optionally, you can there are omens that you can use, and classes with unique traits and quirks and tables to bring life into your character. Oh, are you on the? Should be slide 3, rules and gameplay.
It's not on there.
Okay. All right. So a little bit about the rules and gameplay of this game. The game itself is fairly simple. The base book itself is only 74 pages long. And there's a lot of resources online. So a little bit about it. You have abilities as always. You have agility, you have presence, you have strength and toughness. Agility is like defending, because like the strength, speed, wisdom, all of that. So this is what you have instead. What you are going to be doing is rolling a 3d6 to generate your scores for those abilities. And unlike a critical, what the hell does CR stand for again? CR is like challenge rating. Okay, yeah. Instead of challenge rating, we have difficulty rating. So you have their DR for most of your tests. So you're rolling a d20. Once more, you're rolling to fight the creatures. But creatures don't use ability. They just roll d20s against DRs. So it's kind of like d6 is so simple that your people laugh at you for failing, and DR 18 is like should not be possible. You also are going to have hit points naturally, and it's going to be your toughness plus a d8 instead of like Constitution. Same thing about when you fall unconscious. It's going to be for d4 rounds. You awaken with d4 HP. You roll a d6 for broken or severed limbs. Lost eye, stuff like that. So it's very intense. If you get into negative HP, you just die. And then initiative, when you are playing in the game, you roll a d6. If it's a 1 or 3, your enemies go first. If it's a 4 or 6, then the player characters go first. And agility plus your d6 for individual or initiative is determining for groups. So again, it's very, very simple. Players, you roll for both attacks and defenses. Creatures and enemies don't roll dice in combat. So it's just, they attack you, and then you're rolling to defend, and you're rolling to attack. They don't get to roll. So your melees are made with your testing strength, the DR of 12. Your ranged is testing presence for the DR of 12 as well. And defense is testing agility. If you fail, your enemy gets to hit you. So obviously 20 is still crit. which makes your attacks do double damage, and armor penetrate protection is also reduced 1 tier. So, which I'll get into armor classes in a second. For defense, if you roll a natural 20, then the player gets to free attack. And then, when you get a 1 on attack, your weapon is either broken or lost. If you get a critical fail, if you they call it fumble instead of critical fail. On defense, and you roll a 1, then the player takes double damage and your armor is reduced by 1 tier. And if your armor is reduced when your armor is reduced below your first tier, it is ruined and just cannot be repaired. So since the players are doing all the rolling, it's like it's not like your DM. You're not having like the enemies roll against you. It's just you're the one doing all of the rolling. It's actually like Undine was talking about. This is actually one of the games that you can play solo pretty easily, and I will get into that later about all the resources you can use. So just a little bit about the armor. 0 is no armor. Light armor, you get to reduce D2 damage. Medium armor, you get to reduce D4 damage. Heavy armor, you get to reduce D6 damage. And if you have a shield, it's flat reduction of 1 damage. So that's a little bit about combat. And you ignore all damage from you can choose to ignore all damage from 1 attack, but the shield breaks. So that is something you can, you're, oh my god, like you're getting hit by something really big. You can just be like, I use my shield to like block all that, but then you don't have that shield anymore. So you're not getting that flat -1 reduction. So for reactions, you can roll 2d6 when reading creatures whose reaction is uncertain, which is like anything from kill or helpful. You can also do like resting, which is to catch your breath. You'll heal d4 HP. There's like several different things you can do, which I'm not going to get too in detail for because I want to tell you guys a little bit about character building. So there are like, you can just make your character. You can just be like, I have a character now, and you roll your stats and stuff. But there are classes as well, like pre-made classes for you. They're pretty cool, and not on my list.
What are you looking for?
Paper with my...
What are you looking for?
I don't have it here. It's fine. So there are very cool classes. Yeah.
These are the classes.
Oh, okay. Right. So some of the classes involved are, you can choose 2 different classes, up to 2 different. Okay. So we have like the Fang Deserter, the Gutterborn Scum, the Esoteric Hermit, the Wretched Royalty, the Heretical Priest, and the Occult Herb Master. I would love to get into each of them and what they, the lore behind them, but we got a lot to talk about. So every class gains a number of omens as well. You can play without a class. You just begin with like a D2 for your omens. Oh man. And then you've got powers. There's a lot. And those are the character sheets right there. They are free on Morkborg's like online sites. And then I'll go into the resources.
Yeah. Oh.
It's not the right page.
It's not the right page.
Okay, so the official Morkborg site has so many resources to let you start a game. It has the bare bones PDF, so it's not going to have the art, but you can get full access to that PDF, the whole game book, online. Right there. It also has a dungeon generator and a character creator and an encounter generator. So those are some links right there if anyone wants to take a picture of them, the site, all the stuff that you can get. It also, like the book, includes this adventure called Rotback Sludge, which is an introductory dungeon crawl scenario where you investigate a forgotten part of the Shadow King's enormous ruined palace. There are cannibals, warlocks, and poison peddlers from beyond the void. Wait, I said that right before. But yeah, so here are all the different resources. There's just a lot of free content that they are putting up for you on their site. So it's very easy to get into, and it's just really cool. Okay, and a little bit extra is there are some, quotes here about, what people have to say about Morkborg, this is not that the game, it's not that the game is a joyless affair. The book itself, as an object, is sublime. The humor is very specific, draped in the trappings of death, black, and doom metal. But it's there, pushing those trappings to the ridiculous extremes and struggling to maintain the straight face under the corpse paint. Honestly, if you can't laugh at the end of the world, what can you laugh at? Says Stu Harvith from Monsters, Aliens, and Holes in the Ground. It's a headbanger of a game that is a latest example of fertile cross-pollination between TTRPGs and extreme metal. A love letter to the hell-raising imagery, lyrics, and album art of metal. Says Pierce Anderson from The Guardian. And then Alex Meehan says, an apocalyptic RPG, Morkborg is not about being a hero, it's about finding something worthwhile to cling to as the last vestiges of humanity turn to ashes. So this game was actually inspired, the developers listened to a lot of doom metal, and they actually even include an official playlist for it. It is a 7-hour Spotify playlist of doom metal that, helped inspire this creation. So if you're really into doom metal, you can listen to that while you're playing and really capture the vibes. Yep, and that is a little bit about Morkborg. So if that's one that you're interested in playing, there it is. Next up, he'll be talking about Fabula Ultima.
Okay. So the next game we'll be talking about is one that love RPGs a bit more, but maybe a bit more in the video game sense, and wish that they could take that love and those experiences and translate it into a tabletop game. How many of you here have played a JRPG before? How many of you like that? Wow, that's a lot of hands that just went down. Okay. Well, maybe I could get you to like that again when I explain our next game, Fabula Ultima. So, what is Fabula Ultima? Fabula Ultima is a TTJRPG, which is a tabletop game that, as you can imagine, plays exactly like a JRPG. Created by Emanuel Galetto by 2023 and published by Need Games. Fabula Ultima takes heavy inspiration from JRPGs like the Final Fantasy series, Chrono Trigger, Xenogears, Suikoden, and very many more. Recently, as of last year, Fabula Ultima went through its first successful Kickstarter campaign that helped it raise 1.5 million euros for the publication of its Celebration Edition and a printed bestiary, which is very cool, and I recommend that you give that a check out if you find yourself into that kind of thing. I believe they still have the late backer pledges too, if you want to try and see if they have any goodies left for you. As an RPG in of itself, some might want to play Fabula Ultima if sorry. Fabula Ultima system combines simplified tabletop mechanics with flashy JRPG flavor and flair to put together a unique, action-packed, and streamlined experience in role-playing. Fabula Ultima is a suitable alternative for those seeking a less mechanically intensive, less tactical, more style approach to gameplay, with more an emphasis on bonds between characters, making your hero and influencing the narrative as it happens. So it's sort of like the opposite to Morkborg, as it were. If you want something that's a bit more lighthearted and one that's not exactly super hardcore, something that's more forgiving, Fabula Ultima might be the tabletop for you. So what are the reasons that you might play Fabula Ultima? Like stated before, there are quite a few ones. Personally, my favorite one is a collaborative narrative. And what I mean by that is, if I had to choose, this point right here would be the reason why I would recommend playing Fabula Ultima as the perfect starter TTRPG if you've never even played, a tabletop game before. The narrative storytelling in Fabula Ultima is a bit different in practice than, standard ones. All players will have a voice and be able to interact from the world right from the stage of world building. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is when you sit down to play Fabula Ultima with your group or by yourself, if you use the solo methods that were explained earlier in the presentation, there will be no surprises at the table. Now, for some people that might sound like a bit of a deal breaker, but let me explain further. In my experience as a tabletop player, one of the two biggest ways that a group can disband or break or a game can just fall apart is miscommunication. How many times have you been a player and you go into a game and it's not exactly what you were hoping for or maybe what was promised to you? Or maybe you're a GM and you're not on the same wavelength as your players, or even worse, sometimes your players aren't as the same wavelength as one another, and that could cause, problems at the table. It sucks. It's not fun. And because of that, Fabula Ultima, I believe, would be the perfect one, because by and large, tabletop RPGs are a pretty big time commitment. And if you're not really having fun while you're playing, then what's the point of playing? Not to say that you have to, know every single plot point or story beat as it happens, but you and your group get to talk about what type of game you want to play. Do you want to play a game with a lot of exploration, or a game with a lot of dungeon crawling? Maybe a game with a lot of political intrigue, one that's a mystery for you to uncover. Maybe you want to do something a bit lighthearted, like a slice of life story. Fabula Ultima can do all of those things. It doesn't come with any core setting, but it does have a few world suggestions. You could all talk out as a group as what kind of aesthetic and theme you want to play. If you want to play a classic high fantasy with, the swords and sorcery and magic and wonder around every corner, think something like Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, Fire Emblem, or maybe like the Tales of series. It could be a natural fantasy with little settlements dotted across a wide and wild world that lives in harmony with the megafauna and megaflora that's in it. Think something like Monster Hunter stories, the Atelier games, some of the early Zelda games. Or it could be a techno fantasy with big, sprawling ancient technology based in a land that's maybe reclaiming the old machinery or living on borrowed time. Think things like Xenogears, Xenoblade, Shin Megami Tensei, Nier. Those kinds of aesthetics, they're basically what are offered as suggestions for what you might want to have your world as. This is going to be the first thing that you're talking about with your players and your GM. This is where the GM, after that, can fill in the blanks of, after you decide what kind of world you want to be in, what kind of campaign you want to tell, they can fill in the blanks of what's in that world, what kingdoms are there, what mysteries are there to still uncover, what dangers are still present to the threat in the world, if any. Even if you don't want to decide all that, there are random tables that you can just roll on and have it decide for you, just for convenience sake. So, let's see here. So, when it comes to character creation, Fabula Ultima has a lot of details when it comes to character creation. After you build the world together, you could then build your characters together as a group still, and give them an identity. An identity is a short sentence that defines your character as they currently see themselves at the beginning of the story. Something that summarizes them as a character. To include examples for the book, your character might be known as a royal knight, the battle priestess of the old faith, an elderly amnesiac sorcerer, the queen of the desert thieves, warrior princess of the moon people. Not only do these all sound sick as hell, they all summarize your character and sort of give you an identity, something unique to, I guess, build off of by that. It's important that you try to pick an identity that can relate to some of the classes in the core book, something that you want to try to embody. But for example, you want to say if your identity was like a great scholar, you don't want to be someone who does only physical combat, because then it does sound like a bit silly. The origin is the second thing. Is basically self-explanatory, where they come from in the setting. After you build the world, you get to decide, I want my character to come from here, or this country, or this country. That's something that you would talk with your GM about more than likely. The third thing would be a theme, something that embodies your character, that ties them to the narrative, usually something like a strong ideal or a feeling that drives their action. For example, the manual itself has a list of emotions that your character can embody. These can be used for important role-playing decisions, because at certain points you can invoke this theme or your background or your origin to do certain things in the game, like re-rolling a check or deepening a bond or just using a special ability. For a theme, you can have something like ambition, where you strive to prove your worth to yourself and your others. Doubt, where you need to find the answer to a burning question. Guilt, where you wish to atone for your past mistakes. Hope, where you seek to better yourself, a world for others. So these first three traits are going to be very important. They are core traits and account for a lot of role-playing decisions, and you can invoke any of these three character traits using a fabula point. Now, what is a fabula point? A fabula point is these games' special resource. It represents the player character's ability to influence fate and destiny itself through some certain actions you could take, such as invoking one of these traits that we just discussed, identity, origin, and theme, which can let you re-roll a check, invoking a bond, which will deepen the strength of that bond using a special ability, which can vary case by case, or my personal favorite, altering the story by adding a new element to it or changing an existing element. Altering the story is a bit more of a free form too, and can generally be used by a player to add or change elements to the scene to make things better for the characters. Basically, your plot armor to save your butt in a dire situation. This could be anything from introducing a tool that the players could use, or say you're fighting a big bad evil guy and you use a fabula point to make an NPC appear that suddenly decides to show up and help, or reveal a critical weakness of the villain that you're fighting. The GM, of course, has some veto powers over this. You can't just wish for somebody to die. That kind of takes the whole fun out of the game. But it's encouraged that the GM works with the players to better make the story for them more fun. Finally, once you've chosen all this, your group gets to choose a prologue, meaning why they all came together in the first place. No one's going to be, I guess, sort of sitting edgy in a bar all in the corner by themselves and waiting for someone to talk to them, but no one ever talks to them. Everyone's going to be together from the get-go. You're all going to know each other from the get-go. You're all going to have a reason to be with each other from the get-go. It makes it a lot more easier and cohesive for the group.